Hello, this is Ingrid Auer. I'm from Austria, from Europe, and today I have a very special guest, Tammy Roos from Australia. Hello, Tammy. Nice to see you.
Thank you, Ingrid. Lovely to see you too.
I would like to talk with Tammy about the importance of meditation because she is an amazing meditation facilitator and she is traveling around the world. She has a lot of experience. And my first question to you, Tammy, is what was your first meditation experience? Can you remember?
I can. Wow, this goes right back, Ingrid. My husband and I had gone off and did a primordial sound meditation workshop for one weekend, and this was back in 1999. And that first weekend, I remember going into a room. I had really no expectations of what meditation was. I had heard about it. I didn't really know what it was. So perhaps I was one of the lucky ones because I didn't have this preconceived idea in my own mind about what to expect or what was to happen. So I went into this workshop eyes wide open, so to speak. And from the minute that I went into this first meditation, the aha for me was I actually didn't know what it meant when they said to be still. And I worked out that I had been so busy my entire life with either the to-do list or the many roles we play, being the mother or the student or the friend or the wife or you play these roles and you get so caught up in life and what we think we're meant to be doing, or the expectations that we buy into, that when someone says you're going to sit and you're going to be still for 20 minutes, you think, well, that's pretty easy. And then you sit there and you realize, I have a lot of thoughts. And I never had the awareness of the amount of thoughts I was experiencing until I sat and practiced. And that was my first really big aha moment in that meditation workshop, which was, wow, I'm going to have to learn to train myself to be okay with sitting here. Because I think that's something that I think a lot of people struggle with initially when they learn to meditate is it's hard to go from being someone who's just on and you're just going through the motions and you're ticking things over and you're checking those lists. And then all of a sudden you're going, hang on, I'm going to have to sit here for how long and how am I going to do this? So that was my first experience, but I can tell you by the time I was into the end of the second day of meditating, I realized for me personally, I had a very profound, or the practice of meditation had a very profound effect on me in that by the end of that first weekend, I knew that this was the missing piece that I had not even been aware of was missing in my life. And that this was something that I was going to continue to practice. I had no idea the journey that it would lead me on, but I did realize that it was actually a practice that was allowing me to prioritize myself, which I feel sometimes we're not so good at doing.
So it is very important to integrate meditation in daily life. Do you have some experience or ideas how people can manage this when they are very busy?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and I want to preface first and foremost, Ingrid, like everyone's different. So our practices are unique to us. Our schedules are unique to us. There will be some people that prefer to meditate in the morning. Some prefer the evenings. Some might even say the only time or my most stressed time is midday. So that you can implement meditation and you can actually start experiencing the benefits of meditation with as little as 5 minutes. So I probably need to regress a bit in terms of why perhaps people not should listen to me, but why I'm so passionate about it. So I've been practicing for 19 years and the practice led me away. I had a background, I had an MBA in international business and I studied marketing and trade and I had gone to school in Spain and your fellow with the country you're sitting in. And so I had a very different idea of what I thought I was going to be doing. Then came along this idea of I'm going to sit and I'm going to learn to meditate. And the benefits I started experiencing from even the initial week were so profound in that I felt I had more energy, I had more clarity, I had more patience, I started experiencing more balance, that I became incredibly passionate about the practice. But as an offsider of that as well, what happened was a lot of friends of mine started noticing the shifts in me. And they were saying, what are you doing? You're really different. And I kept saying, nothing's changed. I'm doing the same thing. They said, no, you are really different. And whatever you're doing, I want you to teach us. So I actually was changing, perhaps more on the inside than I realized, but it was showing up in my day-to-day life, in that people were recognizing, you've really shifted. You are a lot happier. And in a funny way too, they kept saying, you've got this glow about you. There's a glow. You just kind of, what are you doing? And it was meditation. So from that, I began teaching out of my home in 2003. And it was all by word of mouth. And that was my initial introduction, I guess, into the field of being a meditation teacher, meditation facilitator. From that, I then also realized, Ingrid, in order for people to understand, I knew what I was experiencing, but I really wanted to, initially at first, I have to admit, I wasn't this excited about this idea, but I went back and I decided to get my PhD. And I got my PhD in parapsychic science. I wrote my dissertation in meditation on the benefits mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually to all levels of your being. And the reason why I understood, or I felt it was important, was there's a lot of people out there that kind of think it's this new age thing. It's a bit of a woo-woo thing. And, you're going to have to sit and you're going to have dreadlocks or chant or sit in this contortionist pose. So you remember when I started meditating was 1999. And so this was 2003, I was teaching, but where we are today, moving fast forward to almost 2018, there's a lot more awareness, a lot more dialogue around the benefits of being still, meditation and mindfulness. But then there wasn't, okay? So I just wanted to kind of give your audience a bit of the background of this extreme shift I went through, because for me, this is my non-negotiable. It's something I do every single day. And it's my, it's my reset button. It's my pause. It's how I am in touch with what's going on in my inner world. And I think that's incredibly important today. And this is a great example. You and I are talking from across the world to each other on this amazing platform. We can record, we can talk, but at no other time in the history of humanity have we been asked to operate at this speed, or even to the extent of feeling like we need to be on. So we have instant messaging, Facebook, Instagram, social media. We've got our emails, we've got our mobile phones, and everyone, unfortunately, I guess, as one of the side effects, I mean, technology is wonderful, but one of the side effects is we get caught up in thinking that, well, we have to stay on. What if someone wants to contact me? And all of a sudden there becomes this fear of the disconnecting from it. But the benefit of when you stop and you sit in silence, and you and I discussed this a bit before we started this conversation today, is you have the ability to start slowing down the number of thoughts you have, which means then you can start having more insight, more clarity, experience calm, because you're allowed to hear what is actually asking to come up and present itself. Is that making sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I realize now when I'm listening to you that there are two different kinds of meditation: the guided meditation and the unguided meditation, to be just in silence. And the other one is like an inner journey. Do you practice both, or more the silent one?
That's a great question, Ingrid. And the way that I guess I would prefer to, or probably give you the background, is I've actually studied 4 different forms of meditation now. And that's probably because, into a truest sense of the word, I guess I'm a bit of a seeker, and I like looking and delving deeper. But because I was so passionate, I really wanted to explore all platforms. So as I mentioned, I learned primordial sound meditation. That was with a mantra. And I was meditating twice a day, 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes in the evening. And I did that for roughly 2 years. And then an extraordinary thing happened. And this may surprise people. But one day I woke up and this mantra that I had recited over and over again to myself, morning and night for 2 years, was gone. And it was gone. And I couldn't pull it back. I couldn't get it. And I was really, I was freaking out. Like, what's happened to this? What's happened to this mantra? I was so attached to this mantra. But because I'd had this really intense, not intense, what am I saying? A very dedicated practice, that's a better word, of meditating twice a day for the 2 years, I was truly listening to my internal guidance system. I was really listening to, and some people will say they're guides, they're angels, my higher self. I was really listening, and I heard that I'd become too attached to my mantra. So I had to, in a way, I feel like the divine just went poof and they took it away. And so then but what that did for me was then I started experiencing and practicing just with silence, concentrating on the sound of the breath and how that would work for me. And to this day, that is still the form that I really love. I love sitting in silence. That is the one that I really resonate with. But post working with silence, when I did my parapsychic science course, I'd done a 2-year advanced parapsychology course even prior to that. And that was guided meditations for 2 years. So for 2 years, as you said, I was going on journeys with a tape and with music. And that's incredibly powerful too. Again, there's no right or wrong. And then I actually also trained in transcendental meditation. So the Vedic tradition of transcendental. And I can honestly say that all of the 4 different meditation techniques I've practiced and used, every one of them has benefits. I truly, personally don't believe that there is a superior practice. I think that gets us into a lot of trouble when we start labeling again. It's no different than, in my mind, than when people start labeling religions as one being better than another. I think we have to be very careful and just saying that whatever works for you, that's great. But I believe it's about, and if you want to use music, use music. If you want to have, just concentrate on the sound of the breath, concentrate on the sound of the breath. Perhaps you're better at concentrating on the feeling of the rise and fall of your chest and abdomen when you meditate. So there's a lot of different ways you can experience meditation, and you can access it. And as I said before, and I will say this again, you can experience in as little as 5 minutes a day shifts. But the one thing that most people do not understand is that it's a cumulative practice. So the more time you spend meditating, the greater the benefits. So if you think you're going to meditate on a Monday and you feel amazing, the same impact or the same benefits you experience Monday that might flow into your Tuesday, you don't have those benefits on Friday. Okay. It's continuous. It's no different than if you are someone who does a lot of working out and you go to the gym and you train. You know, if you're consistent with your training, you get stronger or faster, you feel healthy, or your energy levels increase. But if you drop off, so does your fitness levels. So there's no difference in meditation. So it's really important to understand that meditation is something where you sit. It is a practice. And I defined it as when I wrote my book, I defined it as, and I simplified it for most of my readers in Ingrid, just because I think that it's better, but it doesn't take away from the meaning of it. So meditation is learning to relax the body and quiet the mind. It's a form of relaxation. And if you think of it in those terms and understand that, it's much easier for many, many people who might not have been willing to try it because they thought it was a new age thing, to then experience meditation, because it's actually something that every man, woman, and child can learn and can experience benefit from. There's no one that can't benefit.
Absolutely, yeah. I totally agree with you, because I have a lot of meditation experience with my students and with my seminar groups. And I always try to also prepare the room. I have, of course, my own aura essences, which have a very high vibration. This one was, for example, the angel essence energetic cleansing. So when I go to a meditation room, for example, in a seminar house, first I prepare the room, I clean the room with a cleansing spray, and then we can feel that the vibration is changing, that all that dense energy is transforming into light. And then people can relax, they can open up. And it's, for me, it's a different. What do you think? Why is it important that also the place and the energy of the room, if you have to meditate in a room, is important?
Oh, it's incredibly important. And I'm so glad you actually asked this question, because energy is real, and we can feel it, and more sensitive types are probably more aware on a conscious level, but it doesn't mean that every person in the room is not affected by it. So regardless if you have awareness of it or not, you actually are affected by the energy in a room. And so in terms of that, I always like to say, I mean, ideally, meditating in nature is amazing, and there's no, you don't need to cleanse something that's already, been, divinely given to us. However, in a room, as you're mentioning, and I talk a lot about this in my book, The Gift Presence to Power, which is creating your sanctuary. So create a space that you enjoy being in. And what I mean by that, and I go into quite some detail, is you should walk into that room and you should feel like, you should relax. You should feel the higher vibration. It should feel peaceful. And so people say, well, what does that really mean? Which again is a great question. It means it should, you set it up for what you like. Okay, so if it's going to be candles, if it's going to be incense, if it's going to be sprays, like you've got your beautiful essences, those do have a vibration. The oils, crystals, you can actually change the vibration of a room. I mean, we've got the the Himalayan salt lamps now that act on, you see those in a lot of shops, but the reality is people are tapping into and understanding, even on the subconscious level, there's something that is going on here, because you're seeing products more readily available, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing, because it does make a difference. And natural light, beautiful natural light, but also opening up and getting some fresh air. Again, all of these things help you more easily relax. Now, if I said to you, Ingrid, you would understand this, that you're going to go into a room, and in this room, you don't like the feel of the room, or you don't like the smell in the room, or maybe, everything about the room, you just go, I don't have a good vibe here. Well, I know that all of us at some point in our lives have experienced something like that. So when I tell you that meditation is really about relaxing the body and quieting the mind, how relaxed will you be? And this is just a question for your listeners. How relaxed do you think you'll be if you're in a room you don't enjoy being in, or that does not have a higher vibration? So how can we trust ourselves enough to completely relax when we are feeling on edge because we don't like the vibration?
Yeah.
Is that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. I have a last question to you. Some people can connect with their angels, with their guardian angels, or with a higher self when they do meditation. What's your experience about this?
For me personally, the meditation is my direct link, and it has been my link to my higher self, to the angelic realm, and I get a lot of guidance in this capacity, and it is possible. I think that's first and foremost, everyone has the ability to quiet the mind enough to listen, because we're all born with the sixth sense. All of us have it. But what happens with time and our pace of life and all the noise, could be internal noise or external noise that we have going on in our lives, is that we don't stop to listen. And if we just started trusting and knowing that it doesn't, it's not like just some people have, and I have heard over time, Tammy, you're so fortunate. You've got this gift. You've been really, But the reality is I actually really work on if it's if it's my energy, if it's meditation, if it's having this relationship with self, it doesn't, you have to, I remember this one woman I went into a crystal shop and we were talking about intuition, and she had this great line and I just laughed at her because she was so beautiful. She said, honey, if you don't use it, you lose it. And it's so true, because we have to access it. It's there. But if we deny it, and if we pretend it's not real, or if we don't listen to the guidance, then as you would know, Ingrid, it's very hard if you're not prepared to listen and then action what you might be hearing. It's very hard for you to build up trust with your practice. But at the same time, it's also very hard for you to recognize, oh, wow, that's my guidance. That is my I am presence. That is this teacher within my higher self that is speaking to me right now, giving me guidance on perhaps, something I should do, or I should listen to, or looking at a path, whatever it might be. As you would know, we have so many different messages that can come our way. And I think one of the easiest ways when you're first learning to trust your intuition, or even to go to the point where you go, I believe, and you're almost like setting yourself up for these challenges, which is one of the easiest ways that you can do that is pose a question prior to your meditation. Just ask a question, but then let it go. Don't have an expectation about when or how the answer is supposed to come through to you. It could be in that meditation. It could be 2 hours later. It could be you turn on the radio and you go, oh my gosh, there's that exact answer, and you know it. But the message will come. Our prayers are always answered. Guidance is always given. But we have to be able to trust, hit that pause button, stop, and just have this relationship, which is so incredibly natural. And I think that's, and it's funny, but that's almost like what's coming through for your audience is it's natural. It's not something, it's not, you can't go buy this. You can't go into a store and say, I'm going to buy Intuition 101 and I'm going to plug it into me and I have it. But it is natural, but it's not outside of ourselves. Okay. And I think that's really important. It's inside of us. So if we start tapping into the wealth of this inner wisdom that each of us has within ourselves, it's amazing what can happen. And the experience we then start having is that we have always been loved and supported. Always.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a very good sentence we always should remember. And I also like your idea. You cannot find intuition outside. You have to find it within you. And the more you are self-reflected, the more you take time for yourself, the more you start loving yourself, you will find the answer. You will find the answer within you. Or, as you said, you get an impulse. You get the answer. You get a word, a sentence from your higher self, from the angels, from the archangels, or from a higher source. And this is what I personally really like in meditations, to be connected with the higher self, to be connected with yourself, and to feel that you are a spiritual being in a human body. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Lovely.
So, Tammy, thank you so much. It was very interesting to hear all these aspects from you as an expert. And I really would love to meet you in person one day, maybe in Hawaii.
Or Hawaii or California.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. That would be lovely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.